Holocaust survivors returned to concentration camp for first time to meet Duke and Duchess of Cambridg. The last time Manfred Goldberg and Zigi Schipper saw the gates of Stutthof together, they were in fear for their lives as the horrors of the Holocaust unfolded around them. Today, they set foot back in the camp with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridg in a deeply emotional visit to confront the deep trauma of life at the Nazi concentration camp. Mr. Goldberg, 87, called the day a seismic event, admitting he had hesitated return to Stutthof but had decided to finally face the past with the royal couple by his side. Mr. Schipper, who survived Auschwitz-Birkenau before being sent to Stutthof, said the visit means so much as he paid tribute to the friends, including Mr. Goldberg, who saved his life by supporting him on the final death march when they were both just 15. The men, who both moved to Britain after being liberated, have been friends ever since, and now travel around the country to teach young people about the consequences of anti-Semitism. The Holocaust Educational Trust, HET, arranged for Mr. Goldberg and Mr. Schipper to visit the Nazi concentration and death camp in Stutthof, which was created as a prison camp for Poles in 1939 before tens of thousands of Jews were deported in 1944. Designed for labor, it became a brutal concentration camp with mass hangings and a gas chamber to murder those too ill to work. 28,000 Jews died there. The Duke and Duchess visited Stutthof during their 5-day tour of Germany and Poland, working to draw attention to the need to teach young people about this tragic episode in our shared memory, the HET said. During their visit, the Duke and Duchess were due to be shown discarded shoes, clothing and other personal items, once belonging to the prisoners and taken from them on arrival at the camp. They will also be shown the gas chamber. During the visit, they will pay their respects by placing stones by the camp's Jewish memorial, accompanied by Mr. Schipper and Mr. Goldberg, who will recite the Almali Rachanim, the Jewish memorial prayer for those who have died. The HET explained that the placing of stones at a grave or memorial is an old Jewish custom, dating back to medieval times, honoring the dead by signifying that the gravesite has recently been visited. Mr. Schipper said, "I had no parents, no brothers or sisters. All I had were my friends, including Manfred. They were what kept me going. When we were on the death march, they encouraged me to keep walking when I wanted to give up. We supported each other physically and emotionally. We were all weak, but gave each other strength. It means so much to me that we were able to come back to the camp today, together." On sharing his testimony, Mr. Schipper said, "It is so important that young people know what happened. I will never give up speaking with the Holocaust Educational Trust. It's all to do with stopping racism and hatred. It gives me hope when I speak to young people, and see that they're so willing to listen. But there aren't many of us left. I hope today's visit will remind the world what happened. Everyone has heard of Auschwitz-Birkenau, but it's so important for people to hear about camps like Stutthof." Mr. Goldberg said, "For me, returning to Stutthof is a seismic event. I have never been back to any of the places where I was imprisoned since I came to the UK, in 1946. When I was first asked about visiting the camp, I hesitated. The mere thought of returning made me relive those years in my mind, but I decided I had to come and finally face the past." Mr. Goldberg, born in 1930 to an Orthodox Jewish family in Kassel, Germany, was deported to Riga ghetto with his mother and younger brother in 1941, assigned to a nearby labor camp in 1943 to lay railway tracks. In 1944, he transported to Stutthof and spent 9 months in slave labor before being forced onto a death march and eventually liberated by British troops. His younger brother was murdered. He was reunited with his mother and father in Britain after the war, going on to marry and have 4 sons. Mr. Schipper was born in Lodz, Poland, and survived for 4 years in the Lodz ghetto working in a metal factory, once narrowing escaping transportation to a concentration camp by jumping off a lorry aged 12. In 1944, he was put onto a cattle truck and sent to Auschwitz-Birkenau, being stripped, shaved and showered before being assigned fit to work and volunteering to join a group of 20 boys sent to work at the Stutthof railway yard. The 2 boys met aged 14 at Stolp, the labor camp, and both were forced on the 1945 death march while suffering typhus, liberated by British troops at the port in Neustadt before being taken to the same hospital, to recuperate.